Library Board of Trustees Finance Committee to order. And we have pretty much one order of business, which is to take a look at the memorandum. Actually, I could even share my screen unless you all already have it up. No, I can't share my screen.
I will share my screen and I'll have the document up. That way I can edit it with anything that you all would like as you're talking.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, probably the quickest thing is that we just read through it together. I read through it. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to look at it. I don't have anything to change, but maybe you all do. I don't know if Fran saw a comma or two that she would like to include. So,
is it coming through okay?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so I don't know, Jessica, or do you want to just walk us quickly through it? You don't have to read every line. But.
Yeah, no, sure. So as with prior ones, the first paragraph talks about the actual financials, which is the breakdown of our personnel budgets and our operating budgets. Those two figures are flat from the prior year's approved budgets. The county has not indicated at this point whether or not we should anticipate things like personnel increases for performance pay or anything like that. So this is totally flat, and if they make a decision later on to add those in, they'll do that across the board. The second paragraph includes a note, which we talked about at the last Finance Committee meeting regarding the Lorton Library. We are requesting, again, the $400,000 in unencumbered carryover dollars to support furniture, computers, technology, and materials at the Lorton Community Library. Just thought we would put it out there since that is certainly going to be a hard one for us to try and set money aside otherwise. And then the main part of this transmittal memo is talking about if there is additional funding available. So this language almost exactly mirrors what was in your prior year's transmittal memo. Excuse me. Except for the ending bit where we talked about how it was included in the original budget, but then removed due to COVID. The library board requests that if additional funding become available, this request for phase 1 funding be reconsidered for inclusion. And then it ends off with kind of a generic statement about the use of the library and the support from DMB and the Board of Supervisors around library services. And then it's got the CC lines at the end. So not too different than prior years, except for the fact that we did not request any kind of submission change from flatline because we know that there's no extra money. And we've put in requests in here that if they have funding, they can consider.
Okay. So okay, well, let's just talk about this transmittal memo for a minute, and then I have a separate question. Absolutely. Okay, so Fran or Gary, do you have any comments or think anything should be changed in the memo? No? Gary, can you oh, here we go. Here we are. Gary? You need to take yourself off. Oh, there you are.
It'll be fine with Fran's changes.
Okay. Okay, so do we need, so let's have a committee vote to, I move that we recommend this transmittal letter. Does it go to the board now to approve it?
Yes, so this will be
so I move that our committee recommend that this transmittal memo go to the board for its approval for submission to the county.
Second.
Second, and Fran, you have to vote because you're the only one left.
Oh.
You're not even on the committee.
Oh, that's why I was holding back.
Okay, well then I vote yes, Gary votes yes, and
I can vote and I vote yes.
Okay, there we go. Okay, so Jessica, do you want to take off the sharing so we can see your face here?
Absolutely. Just taking notes for the minutes as we go along.
Okay,
yes.
So I know it's only October, although it feels like a year from October. The only other thing I was thinking about was that we want to, do we want to put into the supervisor's budget guidance again for the next time get them to repeat what they did the last time around the increase for hours, and when do we have to start working on that? I assume not for a while, right?
Well, I do have some additional information about that.
Okay.
I'm not going to get the time frame right, but sometime during this pandemic, after the fiscal year 21, our current budget was approved, and before it actually went into effect, so June-ish, somewhere in there. The Board of Supervisors was actually talking about, as they approved the current year's budget, about budget guidance for future years and what they should anticipate if they received more grant dollars, if they got more federal funding, what they were going to do. And so they have already pretty well set some generic guidance around budgets going forward until the pandemic is done. And what they stated was that they're going to just stick with the priorities that they already have in place, but continue focusing strongly on health response, emergency response, and the continued general operations of the county. So I would say that their general process that they usually use so that we can get new budget guidance in place is on hold at this point.
Yeah.
Knowing that any additional monies that they get in are already pretty tightly allocated.
So basically, no. The answer is no.
Basically.
All right.
Sorry.
No, I mean.
Yeah, the county has been really fortunate so far. Out of the $204.5 million that they received in CARES Act dollars, 200 was originally, and then they got about $4.5 million just in the last month or so. They have allocated 188 million of that. So they've got a little bit left to get through the rest of the calendar year. It expires on December 31st or December 30th. And they've gotten some FEMA funds as well, but they're really anticipating for the next fiscal year, not the one we're developing right now, but fiscal year 2023, that even if residential real estate stays, flat or a little above normal, that commercial real estate is going to take a really huge hit because many businesses have closed and commercial offices are moving towards people more regularly or permanently teleworking. So I think they're looking forward to more difficult budget years to come. Sandra, am I missing anything on that one, or have you heard anything else?
I haven't heard anything else, but I think that's kind of the settlement, is that it's so unpredictable right now. So
Yes. Yeah. So the direction that we've been given for fiscal year 2022, the one that you all just approved a memo for, is flat, and we should all be pretty grateful for flat. And that fiscal year 2023, we might need to brace a little bit harder depending on how things actually turn out beyond the projections they have at this point. Sandra and I received guidance from DMB Monday, I think, about the county's recently reinstated mid-year financial review. So we have, I know, and it's a very, very tight turnaround. So we have until Friday of next week to get all of our documentation in for that. And the tight turnaround is because they're trying to pull all of the information together from all of the agencies in like a 2-week period before the Board of Supervisors' next Finance Committee meeting, which then leads into a joint board meeting that they have with the school board, where they're looking at trajectories for the coming fiscal year for budget purposes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, is iffy. It's definitely iffy out there right now. So we're trying to remain optimistic and really, really grateful that the county has planned this out in advance so that they're not scrambling at the end with deficits.
Okay.
Well,
that's a lot of information for the end result that we can't do anything.
Yep.
Except, continue to use our money wisely. So, okay. Okay, so since we'll be done in like 2 minutes, on a funding question, but not a budget question, this weekend is the foundation's fundraiser, but it's not really much of one this time, right? So is the lack of funding from the foundation going to hit us somewhere?
maybe. So the foundation's event this weekend is a 2-parter. They're doing both the Cinema in the Community movie event at Chantilly, which you're right, is not planned to take in a ton of money. And they're pairing it with an online auction to mimic what they would have done for the in-person silent auction.
When is the online auction? Because I was on their website and I didn't even see the.
Lisa told us about it yesterday, but I have
Okay.
not been on to check myself yet. So I'll verify that for you. So they're
Okay.
doing those two pieces, which aren't going to bring in a ton of money,
Right.
but are just meant to continue the brand of, you know, their Jubilee. They have been seeing pretty decent general donations, which is really nice to see that people are still supporting them.
Mm-hmm.
But they definitely have seen a decrease in operating revenue. Thankfully, they've been able to decrease their programmatic spending at the same time because the library hasn't had as much in-person programming going on. And they were able to take a larger disbursement from their endowment. So for this fiscal year, they're fine. They're pretty flat on behalf of the foundation, but they're going to continue planning for it as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Well, Gary or Fran, do you have any other business for the committee to enact?
No, I
I
don't.
don't.
No? Okay. How are you both?
Doing well.
Hi.
Jessica and I have done orientation for the 2 new trustees, and it's really exciting. The 2 new members, I think they're going to be great additions. I'm
Great.
trying to talk up the finance committee to them.
Because it's so exciting.
It's hard. It was hard.
Especially this year, we are able to do
They both
so
are like,
many
the outlook
creative
sounds,
things.
the outreach committee sounds really good. And I'm like,
It
yeah,
does sound a
the
lot
budget,
better.
that's where everything happens in the budget.
I
It's
think the best way to talk
important.
it up is that we started at 104 and we're ending at 116. That is the best way to talk up
Well,
the.
that's something I can say. It's really fast.
We're very efficient.
Very efficient.
Okay. All right. Well, then I am adjourning our finance committee meeting. Thank you so much for joining me. I don't think we're ever going back to in-person, only because this is so convenient for committee meetings. I love this.
Good job. Good, efficient job.
Yeah, excellent. All right, you all. Nice to see your faces.
See you
Take
next
care.
week at
Bye.
another Zoom board.